Welcome to Nach Simanim. I'm Jacob Thomas, and today we will be learning melachim aleph, perek tet vav. We begin after Rehovam's passing, where his son, Aviah, ascends to the throne, and he rules for about 3 years, and he mirrors his father's spiritual choices, going in the patterns that led to the prophecies we had earlier, and led to the splitting of the kingdom in Yehuda. But Hashem preserves the loyal lineage of the Davidic line. Why? Because of how great David was. That he did not leave God ever, except for the one thing he did do, as described by the Torah. And there's constant warfare between Yehuda and Yerovam. Now, after Aviah, we have Asa, who breaks this cycle of leadership, and he rules for about 41 years, and he is righteous, just like his ancestor David. He purges the land of different cults, different shrines, different avodah zaras, showing commitment to truth, to God. He also gets rid of his own grandmother's status, his grandmother Macha, because she had some of the worst idols. And he chops each idol down and incinerates it at Brook Kidron. Now, there's a war that escalates between King Asa, Baasha. So Asa is the king of Yerushalayim, and Baasha is the king of Israel. The names get a little bit confusing. And Baasha goes south and fortifies the city of Ramah and creates a blockade to choke off all the commerce between Yehuda and Israel, to try to see they're sanctioning each other to see which fare better, each thinking they're going to fare better. And because of this threat, Asa gets gold and silver from the Beis Hamikdash to pay Ben-Hadad, the king of Aram, to break his pact with Baasha, and strikes the northern kingdom of Israel, leading Baasha to abandon Ramah. So the king Asa of Yehuda bribes the king of Aram to help him. Now, in the meanwhile, we cut back to Yeravam's son Nadav. He rules over for 2 years before there is a coup. And during Nadav's military siege of the Plishtim city of Gib city, there is a man named Baasha ben Achia who assassinates him and takes over the throne. Baasha then kills every member of Yeravam's household, which is the absolute devastation that Achia Hashiloni had previously prophesied, and Yeravam's line is completely cut out from history, from the sins that they did. As a recap, we have Aviah's turn for 3 years, who continues the failures. Then we have Asa, who comes in and purges all of the avodah zara and the idols, dethrones his grandmother Macha, and destroys the Asherah idol at Kidron. We have then the Syrian treaty, where Asa then takes the gold from the treasury of the Beis Hamikdash to form an alliance with Ben-Hadad to then be traitors to Baasha, and we have the erasure of the lineage of Yeravam by Baasha, who then has a war, as described also in this perek, with Israel. It is a little bit confusing with the timing here, because we're gonna go back and forth between the kingdom of Israel, the perspective of the kingdom of Israel, and the kingdom of Yehuda, and it doesn't always line up perfectly. And we're gonna have some kings that die, then appear at later stories. Some kings we don't hear, we hear about, and then only later hear about them coming into being. It's a little bit confusing. Now we're on perek tet vav, in which we use a fruit bowl, because tet vav reminds us of Tu B'Shvat, which reminds us of fruit, and we use a fruit bowl to make it more distinct. Asa tosses the fruit being worshipped as idols into the trash. This reminds us how in this perek we have the the father of Asa, who is not very good. And then we have Asa, who is very good, follows the way of God, and destroys all of the idols, including his grandmother's idols, who had some of the worst idols. He destroys them all, completely incinerates them to bring the people back to God. There's also a war between Baasha and Asa. We have a description of how Baasha came into the kingship by overtaking Yeravam and destroying his family lineage, and how there is a war between them, and Asa bribes Ben-Hadad, Melech Aram, to attack the northern tribe. One more time with the simon. Asa tosses the Avodah Zarah fruits, or the fruits being worshipped as idols, into the trash. We're now going to do a 4 perek back chazar, starting with perek Yud Aleph, in which we use 11 stars, to remind us of the 11 stars in Yosef's dream. The king's many wives give him shiny stars to distract him from his work. This reminds us how in this perek, Shlomo marries many wives, who in his later years bring in foreign influences, these shiny stars of ideas and avodah zarah that lead him to have diverted interest in God, leading to spiritual decline, and a prophecy of the kingdom splitting, where Yeravam is going to take over 10 of the tribes. Now perek Yud Bet, in which we use 12 brothers. 10 of the 12 brothers leave their father. This reminds us how in this perek we have the splitting of the kingdom, where Rechavam is anointed and they ask him to lower the taxes, but he says no and increases taxes, leading the 10 northern tribes to split, Yeravam to become king, and Yeravam to make some golden calves. Perek Yud Gimel, in which we use a bar mitzvah boy. The bar mitzvah prophet rebukes Yeravam's altar. This reminds us how in this perek, Yeravam is bringing a sacrifice on an avodah zarah altar. A prophet comes, an Ish Elokim tells him what he's doing is wrong. There will be a man that will destroy these prophets, these altars named Yoshiao, and Yeravam's entire lineage will be destroyed. And then this Ish Elokim falters because he was told not to eat any of the food there, but then eats the food of this fake prophet who tells him that God came to him saying he really should eat the food. Now perek Yud Dalet, in which we use a juggler. The prophet juggles a prophecy about Yeravam's downfall. This reminds us that in this perek we have Yeravam's wife who goes to Achia Shiloni to get a prophecy about their son who is ill. He tells him their entire family is going to be destroyed, the child is going to die now, and your kingdom is going to be destroyed. It will not be good. We're now going to do a 10-question pop quiz on the Sfarim we have learned. In which perek does David charge Shlomo on his deathbed to walk carefully in the ways of the Torah of Moshe? Melachim aleph perek Bet. In which perek does Asa show extensive righteousness reforms and strips Macha of her status and burning her idol? Melachim aleph perek Tet Vav. In which perek does King Hiram of Tyre supply massive cedar and cypress logs by floating them as coastal rafts to Shlomo? Melachim aleph perek Hey. In which perek does Baasha assassinate Nadav and completely exterminate the entire family of Yeravam? Melachim aleph perek Tet Vav. In which perek does Shlomo receive a vision at Givon, chooses a listening heart and a smart mind to discern the people instead of wealth or military victory? Melachim aleph perek Gimel. In which perek does David organize his core administration, appointing Yoav over the army and Tzadok as the Kohen? Shmuel Bet perek Chet. In which perek do the tribes of Israel arrive at Hebron to anoint David as king over the unified nation? Shmuel Bet perek Hey. In which perek does Ritzbah bat Aya protect the remains of her son on a rock from harvest until the rain falls? Shmuel Bet perek Chaf Aleph. Shmuel Aleph bonus question. In which perek does Yonatan and his armor bearer bravely rout a Plishtim garrison by climbing up on a sharp rocky pass hill? Shmuel aleph, perek Yudalit. In which perek does a divine messenger visit Manoach and his wife to announce the birth of a child who will be a Nazir? Shovtim, perek Yud Gimel. That is it for today. May we be zocha to finish all of Nach, one perek at a time, and remember it day after day. Have a wonderful day.